Let's talk about three-man crews and flights per shift.
Okay. What you know about it?
What's the impact? Can the union change the amount of flights we do per shift, or can it demand that we have four-man crews as opposed to three-man crews, which is now the dirty word in ground ops?
No, for both. The union cannot dictate how JetBlue runs the operation as far as how much people they deem necessary to actually work the flight. Right. What the union can guarantee you though is to have an adequate 30-minute break. Right. So if that plane is on the top of the T line, like I said before, you don't have to work that flight if this is your break time. We all know in Geo though we don't like structured breaks because at that point they could just say, hey, if you're using hey Javon, let's go help this crew on this flight. You're not on break. As of right now, how we have it set is like crew members could take their break as in between flights. Like I said, sometimes the operation could feel like you're the only person working. You're the only crew member out there working. Right. And then you have your days where do they even remember I'm here?
Right.
So I always tell ground ops crew, some days it's your day, the next day it's not. So, but for the IM, they cannot dictate how much flights you get. They can just dictate your break. They could say like this employee needs a break. That's factual data, but they cannot say this needs to be a four-man crew, and they cannot say you can only work 3 flights. That's impossible.
Okay, so what generates basically the three-man crews, most likely?
So I'll say in certain markets you could do 3-man crews, right? In certain markets we have a lot of business markets like. Let's say even these are getting kind of heavy because we have a lot of connectors. So even like we'll say like a Boston LaGuardia, you can probably put a 3-man crew on there because people walk around with a briefcase. Some people work down in New York but live in Boston. Right. So those are called those routes are more so business routes. DCA to Boston, those are business travel routes. So some markets can have 3-man crews. I think we have done a very poor job of structuring the 3-man to the 4-man crews. Some of that is also to do with our flexibility as crew members.
How so?
So, all right, I'll give you an example, right? So the roster is made, right? Other airlines, you have to call out 4 hours, some 2, some call out 2 hours. I think TW does 2 hours, some do 4 hours before your shift. Right? So at least you could build a better structure as far as how your day is going to start up, right? So I got a 4 a.m. shift. I could call out at 3:30 currently and only get 1 occurrence. Other airlines, you can't do that. You'll have to now call out at midnight, before midnight, to actually get dinged at that 1 point, or whatever they do. If they do the point system or they do the occurrence system, however they do it, it's a bigger penalty to call out
closer to your shift start.
Closer to your shift start. We have the most lucrative deal with 30 minutes, and you get that 1 occurrence, right? But perhaps now supervisors, managers made the roster ready. The roster's ready made. So you got a 5 o'clock departure. You start at 4 o'clock. You got Kingston, JFK term. You got Kingston at 5, right? Roster's been out since 3, right? Roster's been made since 3. It's been out. Crew members already got it. But I'm a crew member. I'm on your crew. I call out at 3:25 for my 4 o'clock start, right? Roster's not updated because now, everything takes time to process and goes through. And then you got to get to the supervisor who got to update the roster and see the roster, see the call out. Now, 4 o'clock come, that crew's out there loading. Where's Delano? Oh, well, Delano called out. Now, a unionized environment would be like, they will know Delano called out since midnight because Delano's going to call out with enough time so he doesn't get dinged at a higher rate. So he already knows that Delano's not coming in. 30 minutes, having that is leisure, if you ask me, because anything can happen. And that's why we fight to keep it for the crew. You could get a flat tire, you could wake up, you have childcare, your child could be sick. We feel like it's so much of a magnitude of different things that can happen, especially in the world that we live in now, that, changing that to 4 hours or 2 hours, hurts the crew member more. So I just want crew members to be mindful of when they say we're just building 3-man crew. The leaders are just building 3-man crews. It's like we have a lot of call out that comes last minute. Sometimes you'll build a 4-man crew and 3 people show up. Maybe 2. Right. Maybe you're on that crew that 2 people called out last minute because our structure is so close to the start times. you know. And if we change that in the ACAT process, crew members would deal that we're taking things away. You get what I'm saying? But that is building structure, and you know, so it's a. To be honest with you, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to that. Because you'll say, some crew members you'll speak to, they say, oh, well, we want it moved. Then the next crew member's like, oh, no, you're taking away if you move it. So that's the hard part of being a VC crew member, being a representative of the crew when you try to figure out. And I think that works for us now, being at the times that we're in.
So being a current, plotter, the operation. Mm-hmm. So what are the benefits to crew members, possible benefits to crew members of having 3-man and 4-man crews mixed together on the roster?
So honestly, here, like at JFK in certain markets, I think we do a lot of manual labor, right? More so than the American, even the Southwest. Southwest barely get flights over 100 bags. If you look at their planes could barely fit 100 bags. So they're not going to get a workload like we do. Right. We demolished the Caribbean as far as travel. We do like 4 or 5 Kingston flights, all 200 bags. I think, our biggest fight, and, when I have the meeting with senior leaders, I push 4-man crews, regardless, because you just never know. Now we're doing a lot of deals with Etihad, and we're doing all of these countries that have really heavy bags. So even our Embryos are coming in heavy nowadays. So, because they got a lot of connectors. Right. So I'm pushing for 4-man crews across the board. But crew members have to just understand sometimes why it goes down to 3-man. Now, if I'm a plotter here, right, and I wouldn't demolish a 3-man crew just because it's not a 4, right? Now I'll try to plot them strategically and give them our Charlestons, our Buffalo flights, But you think about it, right? So every crew member currently gets 4 to 5 flights as we stand today at JetBlue, right? If I demolish that 3-man crew just because they're a 3-man crew, and even say, all right, we make all 4-mans, and now I got overage because I got 2 extra bodies. 5-man crew, it's still bigger workload. So now I still have 4 flights that I was going to give that 3-man crew. Guess what? I have to now spread those 4 flights out more when I could have just kept that 3-man crew and gave them lighter flights to make sure our other crews get adequate breaks and the operation is still flowing smoothly. So that's the pros in keeping the 4-mans and the 3-man crews, because now, these people are still going to do 4 to 5 flights. They're just not going to do 4 to 5 heavy flights.
So basically, you're saying that there's method to the madness of having a 3-man crew in the operation like JFK. Exactly.
And another thing is, like, if there's some crew members want where we could change that so we could have better staffing opportunities, that's something that the VC could change. Because remember, that's no benefit to the company. They'll change that in a heartbeat. If I go to them tomorrow and say, hey, I think that the crew members want to put the call-out time back so that we can have more of an adequate and know what we're having per shift, they would love to do that. But we fight to keep things like that because it benefits our crew as well.
All right. Thank you for the information.
Okay.